Hi, this is Dave, and before we get to the show, I wanted to ask you a favor. One of our goals this year is to grow the show so that What Does Star Wars Mean to You reaches more listeners. And that's where we're asking you for help. And it's really easy. Wherever you listen to us, please hit that subscribe button. If you're liking the show, give us a 5-star rating and review on the platform you listen to us. We make a lot of fun of the algorithm and the smash that button thing, but it really does help us get noticed by new fans. And if you want to join in on the conversation, find us on social at Star Wars Mean to You. That's Star Wars Mean, the number 2 in the letter U. Now, let's chat some Star Wars.
Prison ship crash.
Yes.
The one who sort of looks like the new Dengar. He's bald and he's got the little thing over it. I want that guy. What's that guy's deal?
Hello there. This is Dave, and I'm an original trilogy kid.
And this is Alora. I'm a prequel trilogy kid. Welcome to What Does Star Wars Mean to You? The show where we talk to all kinds of fans of Star Wars to take the hate out of the debate and look at the franchise from a certain point of view, one fan at a time.
Our guest today is no stranger to comics, comedy, and television. While in college, he worked at Saturday Night Live, Above Average, Sesame Street, and the UCB Theater. He helped produce and book podcasts and videos for Marvel Entertainment. He produced the live reading of The Phantom Menace at the Dynasty Typewriter Theater. He has produced the George Lucas Talk Show as a monthly live show, and since May 2020 as a streaming show. And now, he's co-produced the new documentary, I'm George Lucas, a Connor Ratliff story. Available on VOD right now. Please give a warm hello there to Patrick Cotnoir.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thank
Well, thank
you.
You know,
in the pre-show preamble, I forgot to ask, is your last name pronounced Cotnoir?
You nailed it. You nailed it.
Excellent.
Wow.
Yeah.
That might be the first time Dave's got a name right.
I mean, there's so many different ways to say it, and I've stopped correcting people, but you got it. So
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, Patrick, are you ready to share with the world what Star Wars means to you?
I'm so ready.
Right on. We like to start with a segment that we call 5 with the Force. It's 5 baseline questions that we ask all of our guests just to kind of get that Star Wars baseline.
Mm-hmm.
So first up, which movie is your go-to favorite?
Man, I think it's probably A New Hope. That it's kind of the boring answer, but it's probably the one I've seen the most. It recently, Last Jedi and Rogue One have seeped into that, but this year has been very Phantom Menace heavy.
Yes.
And I've probably watched Phantom Menace 4 times this year, 4 or 5 times this year, just because of, seeing it in the theater, but also working on that live reading, watched it a few times just to not even refamiliarize myself with it, but just really have it seep into myself again. So it truly changes so often, but I would say New Hope is probably the most common go-to.
I don't think that's a boring answer at all. That's my answer, so I agree.
Great. I love it.
Dave, do you want to roll a D6 for me?
Yes. 5.
5. Oh, who is your favorite alien?
Ponda Baba.
Oh, Walrus Man.
Walrus
I
Man
needed the
himself.
visual. Yes.
I get it. Yeah. He's my guy. I don't know why. He's just my go-to guy. The cantina scene was very big for me as a child. I loved monster movies. I like masks, just Star Wars to me is dudes in masks, and that's what I want. Dudes and ladies in masks. But overwhelming. It was a lot of
It's overwhelmingly dudes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, except for Greedo.
True, but half of Greedo was a dude.
Okay.
It was 2 different people. It was a dude and it was a lady. So Ponda Baba's my guy. I broke my New Hope VHS special edition because I watched the cantina scene too many times.
Oh, no.
And it
just
fully
rewind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's my guy.
All right. Besides the movies, what is your favorite Star Wars content? This can be anything from TV shows to games to novels.
Wow. I mean, man, there's a few. I'll give you a couple just because the first thing that popped into my brain, because it was one of the early things that I saw, is the Muppet Show episode, which was huge for me as a kid. I watched it so many times. But I also love a lot of the comics. I love the animated stuff, but and I played so many of the video games when I was a kid. I loved Galactic Battlegrounds, which was a computer game. It was sort of not like a God of War, but it was like a battle planning game that I really liked.
Yes.
And
almost like a oh god, I can't remember what the space version of
I know.
Oh my!
What is the name of that game?
Yeah, Starship. It's not Starship. It's
you're watching it. You're watching it from above, and you can see the battlefield below you.
Out on this.
Yeah. It's very fun. I mean, I don't know if it would still be very fun, but it was very fun when I was 10.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Also, Knights of the Old Republic. I loved playing those. But I'm sort of like an equal opportunity Star Wars guy. Like, I liked reading EU stuff before it was decanonized, but it was not a huge part of my life. I loved the Tales from books; those were really big for me. Especially Jabba and Cantina; those two were huge for me.
Well, it goes back to your love of the Cantina scene and the monsters, and they each go in depth to that.
And Jabba is very similar to the Cantina.
Yes.
Jabba is the Cantina of Return of the Jedi, so it's like a bunch of more dudes in masks.
Have you been to Oga's Cantina yet at Disney?
I have. Yeah. I have. It's great.
It's awesome.
Great. Yeah, I got to go pre-COVID, which was amazing.
Nice.
And then it it was one of those things that I was like, oh, well, at least if I don't make it through this, I got to go to get So I was very happy about that. And then I moved to LA, and I'm so much closer to Disneyland. So now I've gone multiple times.
Right on. Yeah, when my husband and I lived there, it was a regular date night spot, to be completely frank with you.
I get it. You're not wrong. They had drinks that were really good, and it had like a cookie on top, and they don't make them anymore. It was like I think it was a Mustafar themed drink.
Oh yeah, no,
they don't make them anymore, but they were so good.
Mustafar.
Dang.
Was it fried Anakin?
Yes, I think that's what it was.
It's like a red drink with a black cookie. I'm just talking about Revenge of the Sith.
I know. Slight hint of cannibalism. What is your favorite line to quote?
What's my favorite line to quote? That's a great question. I'm weirdly like not a quotes guy. Like quotes aren't good at sticking in my head, but if you're like, who played Bespin Guard number 2? I'm like, it was this guy. So quotes are always tough with me. But if I ever, this is actually true. If I am ever talking about someone and this aspect of their life comes up, I will say it in this inflection. I will be like, he's rich. Which is how Han says it about Leia. I will always say it that way. And it's not like a conscious thing, but it is just like so seeped into my brain. I think it's weird quotes like that come out and people don't realize that you're quoting it, but it's a fun little treat for you.
Yeah. I would love it if someone responded with, yeah, how rich?
Here's another one. If someone says like, I used to live here. I will always say, well, you're going to die here now. It's convenient. I say that too. Yeah. I said that to my friend who's like a big Star Wars fan, and he was like, what? I was like, Return of the Jedi, Tatooine, like, and then
you have to explain it, which totally takes all the joy out. Yeah.
I like to say that there's a Star Wars line for every occasion, and I think you just proved me right.
I think so. Those are two good ones.
Okay, our last of 5 with the Force. If you could book any one character from Star Wars on the George Lucas talk show, who would you book and why?
Man, that's a good one too. A new guy that I'm obsessed with. This is a very new guy. Is the guy who's in The Acolyte, I want to say episode 1, in the prison ship crash.
Yes.
He's the one who like sort of looks like the new Dengar. He's like bald and he's got the little thing over it. I want that guy. What's that guy's deal?
Yeah.
Or the little weird yellow guy who's hopping around in Andor. Do you remember him?
Oh, yes.
I like that guy, too. And I think both of them are fascinating. And give me the action figures. I want to know what their deal is.
Yeah, I want their story. Yeah. Great answers.
Really funny. When I saw Acolyte, that guy stood out to me, too. And I was like, his eyes are too close together. And he has like a Matchbox car on them.
It may be recency bias, but I've said multiple times now that I think that scene is like one of my favorite Star Wars scenes now. Like that whole the ship crashing, them breaking. I love it so much. I think it's amazing.
Dave texted me in all caps. I think you said something along the lines of like, what was it about the droids to change?
Chair droids.
Chair droids. What you said?
Yeah.
The chair. Look, chair droids, Lady Nemoidians. We got so many good things in that episode. Very, very on board.
So let's get into your Star Wars journey. What was your first introduction to Star Wars, and can you walk us through that experience?
Yeah, totally. So my aunt was a big Star Wars fan, and when she moved out of my grandparents' house, she moved to California when I was a kid, and then later on moved to London. But when she moved out, she left a lot of the stuff with my grandma. So whenever I would go over to my grandma's house, she'd have all the Star Wars and Muppet stuff. Those were like the two big things that she also, passed on to me. So it was a lot of like books and a lot of toys and a lot of just like being around those things.
Yes.
And I tried to remember the first time that I saw it, and I must have seen it pre-special edition. Like I had to have seen it because I was so excited to go see them, but I don't remember seeing them pre-special edition.
Wow.
So in my brain, I have to say that the special edition was the first time that I saw it.
But kid brains work in a weird way.
I'm sure, yeah. But I just remember like getting action figures before the special edition. And I'm like, why would I have given two shits about Grand Moff Tarkin before watching the movie? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's just an old man to like
there are photos of me. I don't know the actual timeline on Grand Moff Tarkin. That may have been post special edition, but there are photos of me at Christmas where I got Grand Moff Tarkin, and I'm holding it up, and I'm like so excited for the audio listeners. It's the most excited anyone's ever been to see Peter Cushing. It's amazing. It's amazing. So I saw the special editions. I remember we went to Taco Bell after seeing all of them, and like we're trying to get all the toys. And I was 5, right? Yeah, I was 5 for those. And then 7 for Phantom Menace. So it was like kind of the perfect age for Phantom Menace, especially.
Yeah, because you saw Star Wars and then didn't have to wait 13 years to see Phantom Menace. It was just 2 years later, and it's like that almost that 2-year pattern just started right up for you. I'm so jealous of that.
Totally. And it was pretty much Anakin's age. Like, it was like that Jar Jar hit real hard for me.
Oh, sure.
To this day, still does. Big Jar Jar guy. But it was perfect. It was the perfect age for me to get into it. I was still very into it for Attack of the Clones. I would say for a while around that time that it was my favorite Star Wars movie, which I don't dislike Attack of the Clones in any way. You know what I mean? Like, there's stuff obviously I would change, but I really like that movie. I think it's super weird. It's got a lot of creatures in it. And I was huge into like CGI stuff. I was like very excited about all that. And those bonus features on those DVDs were like huge for me.
Yeah.
Watching all that stuff was like really, really big because I just got so excited about, movies and movie making and stuff. And Attack of the Clones was, they obviously did so many things that changed filmmaking in general with that movie. So it was big. Yeah.
I always kind of liked Attack of the Clones. Like, even 10 years ago, I probably would have said that was my favorite one of the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
And someone once said to me, Attack of the Clones is so great because it has everything. It has romance. It has action adventure. It has mystery. It has like incredible world building.
Yeah.
And then
but some people say that the problem is that it has everything.
There's a lot
going on.
There is a lot but it also has like the sonic boom bomb from Jango Fett's ship.
Yeah,
and then of course of all the filmmaking advances it accomplished as well.
Yeah.
When you saw the special edition Star Wars, were you just all in right away? And did that take you all the way like through the whole prequel trilogy, and then did you hold on to your fandom after that?
Yeah, so I by the time Revenge of the Sith came around, I think I was 13, right? Yeah, 13 at that point, and I had sort of bought into the general consensus of like, even though I don't 13. I don't think I actually believed it.
Yeah.
But I think it was just one of those like, everyone doesn't like these, so I guess I don't like them either. So I don't have any toys from episode 3. I don't have anything. It's like a real bummer. But my friends, the town that I grew up in was the North American headquarters for Lego.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so a lot of like family and friends, parents and stuff worked for Lego. So we would get a lot of Legos for, original trilogy, episode 1, episode 2, all that stuff. But we went to an early screening for Revenge of the Sith. And I remember I saw it with my friend and his mom who worked at Lego, and I remember liking it. I was like, even though, I'm not as into these movies as I was, I'm still pretty on board.
Yeah.
And it never like went away totally, but it definitely didn't kick back into, unfortunately, where we are today, where it's so high. Kind of until the Lucas show, maybe a little bit before I started working on the Lucas show, but like it was that was definitely like a Kickstarter again, just to like get it back into everything, and that wasn't too far before the sequels came out. So it was, 2014, 2013 probably was when I started getting back on board.
You work in the industry now pretty heavily. And so you mentioned something before about how you got really into the filmmaking on the special features.
Yeah.
Would you attribute your
100%
your path now from Star Wars? Yeah.
100%. 100%. Bonus features in general were like so big for me. I mean, you guys can see, you're watching on video, like behind me is just a wall of DVDs.
Yes.
Like 2 walls there's 2 gigantic shelves behind me of DVDs.
You look like Netflix headquarters.
Thank you so much. I like to think I treat people better, but who knows?
It's a good point.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was so big, and just like seeing how things were made was really exciting for me and really important. I think there were a few things that were like, Hollywood's the place to be, but that was one of them, where it was, seeing how people made the things that I enjoyed. I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do, but I knew it was something in this world. But at, the beginning, the episode 1 making of documentary, and then like From Puppets to Pixels was on episode 2, where like those were both huge for me. A real nerd.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
But it's funny now. No, totally. It's very funny now because I do have this like weird brain for like, Rob Coleman or Rick McCallum or whatever, and like talking to people who aren't as into it. They'll be like, "Oh, who's this guy?" I'm like, "Oh, well, that's John Knoll. He and his brother invented Photoshop." And just like going down the list of like what all these guys did, because it was like such a huge part of my brain at that point, like early internet, even like, trying to dig up info on who all these guys were. So, it was definitely, I went, when I worked at Marvel, I'd been to Lucasfilm already. I'd already like gotten the tour of the office, but we were going out to do some interviews for some of the Marvel podcasts, and they were like, "We're going to Lucasfilm again." And I said, "Well, I'm unfortunately coming with you. You're going to have to just deal with that."
You didn't know that, but it's happening.
No, they didn't know it. I'm flying out. You don't have to pay for it, but I'm coming. And my friend and I were walking through the halls, like as part of, going to one of the rooms where we were going to record, and John Knoll walked by, and almost no one in the group either knew who he was or cared. But like immediately our heads just like were on a swivel looking at each other, just being like, "You saw that, right?" And it was a very exciting moment for us.
Of course.
I wanted to ask you about Phantom Menace real quick, since we're talking about the prequel trilogy a little bit. You said you have just recently watched it like 4 times in a row, and in preparing the Naboo movie, Phantom Menace reading, did you pick up on anything new that like you didn't notice when you were a kid or since the times you had watched it?
Yeah. I don't know if this is the answer exactly that you're looking for, but yeah, there were a few things, because I, saw it on the big screen for the re-release, and there were a few things where I was just like, I've never seen that before. Like those kind of things happen. Where there's a shot where I think it's in the palace, and Newt and Rune Hacko are talking, and in the background there's just some bald Nemoidians. They don't have hats on, and I've just never seen them before. And I was like, what is that? It was like I was watching the movie for the first time. Also, in one of the last scenes with the we'll be watching your career with great interest, the Palpatine scene, they're coming down, and you have the fake Mace Windu and like some of the. Do you guys know about this?
No,
Mace Windu, no.
Oh God, I'm about to blow your damn mind. In that scene, you see the Jedi Council like walking behind Palpatine. It was a reshoot day, and they couldn't get the actors back. So it is another African-American bald man who is very
Really?
clearly playing Mace Windu. But also,
How have I never noticed this?
Sio Bibble is also in that scene, and it is absolutely not Oliver Ford Davies playing Sio Bibble. It's so wild. You're going to go watch it now and be like, how have I never seen this? What else have I not seen?
That's literally what I'm doing when we hang up.
100%. 100%. It's so weird. So I knew about the Mace Windu, but I had never noticed Sio Bibble, and it was like the first thing I tweeted about when I left. I was like, do people know about fake Sio Bibble? And everyone was like, shut up. Stop tweeting about this stuff.
I cannot. Wow, shows you how observant I am. Okay.
I know. Yeah, but I've seen that movie so many times and I've never noticed it. So you're not wrong.
Working on working on the George Lucas talk show, I'm sure you're around people who don't know Star Wars and a lot of people who really do know Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Are you ever like taken aback by something new that you've learned, or are they taken aback by your intense knowledge of all the like special effects and behind the scenes kind of things?
Yeah. I mean, I think the things that we like to learn on that show, there's a lot of our guests. I should give people a brief overview of what the show is.
Yes, please.
Sorry, we should have asked. Yeah.
That's okay. It's a talk show. It's a regular talk show hosted by comedian Connor Ratliff, who you might know from Dead Eyes, the podcast, or Search Party, or Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, a whole bunch of stuff. The Mean Girls musical movie. He plays George Lucas. He plays George Lucas as a talk show host. It's as if George Lucas is James Corden or Jimmy Fallon or whatever.
It's great. You all should watch the documentary.
Yes. And then the sidekick on the show is Watto, who is played by Griffin Newman, the comedian, who does Blank Check, the podcast. And he was on the Tick reboot and a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm sort of their on-air producer who they, like to shit on and like to, yell at and all that stuff. So we have people on the show, we have people, and Ahmed Best has been on the show, for example, where it's like, he knows George, he knows real George Lucas, but we also have people who are like, I've never seen a Star Wars movie. Is that okay? And we're like 100% totally fine. So the things that we like to learn on that show specifically are things about real George. Like, we know the general broad strokes that everyone knows about George Lucas, but like, I like to hear that when they were working at the ranch with someone who was on our show, when they got hungry, they would leave the ranch, go down the hill, and all go eat at Chili's together. And it was George's favorite restaurant. Like, that is what I want to know, that kind of stuff. And some of those things get worked into Connor's portrayal of George in the show, it's very fun because it keeps the audience being like, is that real? Or is that something they made up? Like, that sounds insane, but maybe it's real. I don't know. So we like doing that. I think some people are taken aback at first just because the three of us are big Star Wars fans. Like, we all know a lot to varying degrees. Connor is a very good improviser. Connor's one of the best improvisers in New York and in the world, I would say. But he doesn't know. He calls Ponda Baba Walrus Man. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
He does not know that Ponda Baba's name is Ponda Baba. He's a very good improviser and he's a very good bluffer. And a lot of the times he will be able to make it sound like he knows what he's talking about, even if he does not totally know all the details. And then Griffin and I are bigger nerds for that kind of stuff. So we're able to be like, well, George, of course you remember the guy with the long neck's name is Yariel Poof. Of course you remember that. Things like that. But I think people are taken back at first, but then once they realize that kind of most of the time the show does not talk about Star Wars that much, Yeah. I think you see in the doc I think it's the December 2019 show, he gets to the end and he goes, we didn't even talk about Star Wars. Like, Rise of Skywalker is coming out like next week. And we didn't even mention it, which is kind of the dream. Like, the dream is that we never talk about Star Wars because it's more fun for us to like build out this reality of this show.
Yeah. I mean, I love the concept. I thought it was hilarious that, George is retired. And so what did he do? He's going to now interview celebrity. Like,
the famously charismatic and charming George Lucas,
Yeah. Speaking of the show and the documentary, there's a point where Connor says something to the effect of like, why am I doing this? So I think like our question is, why are you, Patrick,
great
doing the George Lucas talk show?
I ask myself every day. No, I mean, I do it because it's fun. I do it because we enjoy doing it together. We enjoy hanging out, and like, also, like we had Weird Al on for 3.5 hours.
Oh my God.
Like,
Yeah,
where am I
yeah.
going to talk to Weird Al for 3.5 hours? It's just not going to happen otherwise.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to meet so many of my like good friends, and I lived in New York for 13 years, and I moved out to LA a year and a half ago, and like had a built-in group of people I knew, a lot of because of that show. Like a lot of people we had on the show over COVID, who we met on Zoom. I'm like, oh yeah, I saw like 3 of them last night. Like it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's why you do it. It's like built this weird community where like people really care about that show, especially the people who came on during the live streams during lockdown, because we did over 400 hours of live streaming during COVID, and it was just like, we got people through a lot of stuff, which is crazy, but it was also because we got us through it, like,
yeah, it's real. Yeah.
It's real. And like we were locked up, and like I was not an on-camera personality before COVID, but when we started doing the live stream, it was like, oh, I need people to talk to.
Yeah.
Because I'm not seeing anyone, so let me come on this and like be able to chat with people.
Let me be human too.
Yes. And it definitely got me through it. It was nice having something being like, well, I know it's Sunday because I know I'm doing the show. And I know I'm going to like be able to have something to do
What
tonight.
day of the week it is.
It helped so much. It truly helped so much.
Do you have a background in improv at all? Or I know you've worked at UCB, but so you were just kind of pulled into the live streams.
Yeah.
And was it hard to adjust to both Watto and George kind of having their back and forth?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think, I knew both of them pretty well. I knew Connor very well. I knew Griffin pretty well at that point. But like, I mostly hung out with Griffin at the shows every month. It wasn't like we were doing a lot of stuff together. I've spent more time with Watto than I have with Griffin, and I sort of consider them two different people in my brain.
Sure.
And same with Connor and George. I don't think I've ever called George Connor. And I don't think I've ever called Watto Griffin on the show. And I kind of take that as a point of pride.
For them too. I mean, that they're able to step into those characters so fully that like everyone around them is able to join them in that.
Yeah.
And it also goes back to the Muppets, because anytime you interact with the Muppets, you interact with. Yeah, you're talking to Kermit.
Yes, you're not saying hi, Matt. You're saying hi, Kermit.
So jealous of that period of your life, by the way.
For sure. Yeah. But no, I don't know if it was difficult. I think the most difficult thing was after lockdown when we started doing live shows again, because I didn't like doing things in front of audiences. I had acted in high school and I sort of got it out of my system and was like, I'm done. I got nervous a lot, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now it's sort of like second nature, but on the live streams, if I made a joke and it didn't work, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Because you don't hear either the silence or the laughter. So you go on stage and then you say something and it like doesn't hit and you're like, okay, well, screw you guys. It's fine. It's fine. So I think that was probably the biggest adjustment, but that didn't happen until, we'd been doing the show for 2 years or something like that. Like doing the show since I've been doing the show as a co-host for like 2 years. Yeah.
So how did the idea of the documentary get started? You have this stage show, and obviously they filmed, it looked like 2018 and 2019, or for a bit before the pandemic.
Yeah.
How did the idea of the documentary develop, and how did you get involved?
Totally, yeah. So we did not produce the documentary. We didn't make it ourselves. These filmmakers came to us in, I want to say it was December 2018. They DM'd me. And they'd been coming to the show. Their names are Marsh Chamberlain and Ryan Jacoby. Their last film that they'd done before that was for PBS, and it was about intergenerational trauma and suicide in Alaskan Inuit culture.
Oh, wow.
So light fare.
Light fare, very easy. They needed something new and happy, and Ryan Ryan had like been going to the show and was like, I want to do something with this. So they DM'd me and they were like, hey, we want to just like film a show. That's what we want to do. We want to film one show. So you have a professionally filmed show. You can show people what it is. And we were like, amazing. Sounds great. And then, they did that. Then they pitched us. Ryan came back and was like, what if we did like a fake behind the scenes short thing where it's sort of like Larry Sanders or 30 Rock, where you're like this is George Lucas and how he preps for a show. And Connor said, that's way too much work. Not knowing that we would still be doing this 5 years later. And said it's way too much work. And the risk versus reward is so low. Like, it's going to take so much work, and it has to be really funny in order for this to be worth it. Because if people see that and it sucks, they're going to be like, I'm never going to go see that show because that video sucked, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So Connor said, what if you did a short, real behind the scenes documentary about the show? Like, really, Connor Ratliff making the show, what is that like? And they said, great. So we brought on Anna Maria Sofios, who's a friend of ours. She's a producer and development exec in TV. And we did a Kickstarter. They raised a pretty good amount of money to do this short. And then they filmed for over a year. And they were still thinking, oh, we're going to do a short. And we said, if you guys do a short, we want you to know that we will think you have wasted so much of our time. Because we have been we've been filming for a year. You have like 70 hours of footage, you know, like you sort of got to make this a feature. Yeah. So when COVID hit, most of the stuff had been filmed. They hadn't filmed like Griffin's interview, and they hadn't filmed few odds and ends here, but mostly it had been filmed. Right. And obviously the show took on such a different, you know, world once COVID became a thing. Like, so many more people saw the show, so many more people found it and that kind of stuff, that they were able to add. You guys saw there's like a little 15-minute, 20-minute thing about like post-COVID world into it, which I think it's a interesting part of the show. You know, like you get to see UCB when it closed down, and they had to it's very weird and it's very jarring, especially for people who like did a bunch of shows there, to like see, you know, pictures broken on the ground and stuff like that. So they were able to add a lot of stuff into the doc that I think helped. And we did another Kickstarter, and they were able to finish it as a feature. So it evolved a lot. Like, it changed a lot from what they originally wanted. But I think it's, you know, I think it's what it was meant to be the whole time, which is nice.
This may be off topic, but you just got me thinking, and we might cut all this out, but it was the first time I felt like I had watched something like that, like a real day in the life of the world coming to a halt. Because I don't think that many industries can say that they had a film crew following them around. And it was the first time I had seen any depiction of that, like in such a raw form.
Especially for something that wasn't created as a COVID project.
That's exactly. Yeah, that it kind of was this thing that came about, and like exactly like you said, like broken photos on the ground, like things in disarray. At one point, Connor's friend's loading his stuff into the car, and there's no other cars on the streets of New York. Like, Midtown, that was mind-bending.
It's crazy. Yeah. We were really lucky that my friend Sam, you know, was able to go pick it up because he had a car. And that Marsh was able to go into the city again because he had a car. You know, like the three of us did not have cars.
But he was able to just like pull to the side of the road. I mean, like, again, this has nothing to do with Star Wars, but
no, it's jarring though. It's weird.
I think it was a really important aspect to the film because it tapped into especially what you were just talking about, and that's the community that formed online and how it was almost visually painting the narrative of why that was so important. Because everything became a ghost town, and I don't know if, you know, young kids today learning about this in the future will truly understand and be able to comprehend what that looked like. Like, we all literally went home from work one day and didn't go back.
Just never went back. I went back to an office for the first time 2 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
So it's weird, you know, and I'm very happy that exists. Connor says, you know, that's one of his favorite parts of the documentary because, like, he wasn't there for that, and like he didn't know what it looked like until it was on camera. You know, I was like sort of there for that because they call me on FaceTime, but like, you know, it's very weird to see a documentary about your life that you are not there for. You know,
That's just such a great phrase. It feels like it needs to be in a mystery novel. One of the things that kind of struck me about the documentary, and this is also something I'm coming to terms with understanding about George Lucas himself. I will say up front, I'm not sure there's a question here. It's maybe an observation, but as presented on the documentary, I feel like Connor has kind of a for lack of a better word, walls or distance between who he is and the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that feeling from George Lucas as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I've noticed about George Lucas is that a lot of people rag on him for things like, oh, he can't direct actors, he can't write screenplays, his dialogue is crappy. And yet, and that's just my own blog. Yet he is he's the leader of a billions over billions franchise, the world's most popular franchise. So I feel like, if nothing else, he's a tremendous leader. He knows, he brings people into the fold. He knows, I'm going to assume he knows how to listen to them. And he also knows how to guide them to be like, no, this is the bar. Like Doug Chang related a story one time where he was talking about designing like the Naboo fighter or something. And George Lucas told him, when people see it, they have to know right away what it does and why it works.
What's he say? He says like they have like 2 seconds or something.
Yes,
like you've got to convey this in like 2 seconds, and people need to know where the cockpit is and where the engines are and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you think back on Star Wars, and you're like, I get what everything is in 2 seconds, and that is an amazing genius to be able to lift that up. And I feel like Connor probably has that as well, like finding the Watto within Griffin, even though Griffin brought Watto, finding the producer within you, even though you are.
I was a child. Yeah, but I was a child when I started. I was like 22 or whatever. You're right. And I think he's very good at identifying the people that he knows he will work well with, and the people that he knows will bring good things to the show. There's very few people that worked on that show that like didn't work out. It was the people who worked on that show, and we love them, and they were always helpful, and they either stopped working on it because they just moved or got another job or something like that, or didn't want to stay out for a midnight show anymore. But you're right. I mean, they're similar in a lot of ways. And it was interesting watching this documentary, like actually seeing it laid out in front of you,
Yeah. There was a great scene where it kind of shows a little bit of the creative process. I think it was you, Griffin, and Connor brainstorming the indoor sticks.
Yes.
And everyone was going to throw indoor sticks at Darth Vader.
Yeah, and anyone who's listening who has not seen the documentary, this all makes perfect sense.
It's totally. They don't need
people to go
Oh, absolutely. No, I just think it's such a funny sentence. Throwing indoor sticks at Darth Vader. We know. Yeah.
What? Get in the know.
What? I'm George Lucas, a Connor Ratliff story on VOD right now. What is the creative process with Connor like going in, like develop as you approach each show?
Yeah, I mean that scene in particular was like it was a helpful thing because that was going to be one of our biggest shows up to that point. But it was like one of the things, and I don't want to use this word because it's not exactly the right word, but I think it's the only word that works for it. It was one of the only things that was like faked. Like we never really had in-person meetings that often. It was usually
what you mean. Yeah.
It was usually just text threads. It wasn't faked because obviously we were discussing it. It was faked, but it was not faked. It was helpful to have us all in one scene together. And I think that really is like the one scene in the movie where the three of us are together, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But it was, it was a very helpful thing for that movie. But that's sort of what the creative process is like, is he says something completely off the wall, fucking insane. And we all go, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll figure out how to do it. Like, for example, last August, we went to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Scotland, and we did a month of shows there. We did 34 shows or something like that in 28 days, something insane like that. Because Connor said, I want to write a play for George and Watto to do. And he wrote a play for Watto and Baron Papanoida, which is the character that George plays in episode 3 for 0.5 seconds. And it
all
is
blue, this Papa Smurf character.
It is a Waiting for Godot in space. It's called The Baron and the Junk Dealer.
Oh my God.
And
I love everything about this.
They get stranded on a desolate planet and have to figure out how to work together in order to get off. They don't know each other, blah, 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 blah. So like he says, I'm going to write a play for George and Watto. And we're like, yeah, well, I guess that's the next 6 months of our lives. Great.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's the creative process for Connor. And, it's amazing. It's great.
Yeah.
He's the most fun person to work with. So no complaints.
When you're seeing a new Star Wars thing,
yeah,
do you prefer to have the creators challenge your understanding of Star Wars, or do you prefer to have it be something more familiar?
Here's a good example. I love Rogue One, right?
Yeah.
I think Rogue One is amazing. I think it's great. I don't like when my guy Ponda Baba shows up. I don't like it.
Yes.
Because it is something where I'm like, we don't need this. This is empty fan service. I don't want empty fan service. If you're going to have a character show up, I want it to be for a reason. I want to, I want to like really either grow that character or have them be impactful for the story. So like it is, that is familiar, but I also want them to challenge me in a way that like, I want you to give me a reason to enjoy the familiar thing,
Yes.
Love Last Jedi. That's another thing that's very divisive. Blah, 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 blah. We're all bored of talking about it. But like, it was different and it was unique and it was something that, man, I really hope they try something like it again.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm scared that they're nervous too, because of dumb boys online. And I feel like in all these podcasts and stuff I've been doing, I've been like shouting out all these dumb boys and I'm waiting for them to come for me. I'm really waiting for it because I desperately want it. But it's true though.
Thing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're right though. It's just like, I want something to be new, but I also I like seeing things that I know, people are saying like, oh man, I really want Yoda to show up in the Acolyte. And I'm like, of course I want Yoda to show up in the Acolyte. Of course I do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if he doesn't and there's no reason for him to be there, I don't want him there. You know?
It's gotta pack a punch.
It's gotta mean something. And once Yoda, I don't remember who I was listening to. I've been Blast Points, who I love. Shout out to Blast Points. But I think they said, once it's the Luke Skywalker problem in Force Awakens, is that once Luke Skywalker shows up, it's the Luke Skywalker show. Once Yoda shows up in the Acolyte, the whole time everyone's gonna be like, well, where's Yoda? I want to see Yoda again.
Yeah.
So you gotta use these things sparingly, and that's why I want something fresh and new, unless you really mean it,
Yeah.
The other complex thing to do, I think, and this is getting into Acolyte theory, so I apologize,
That's okay.
is to have Yoda involved in the story, but have him not know about the Sith. And if he doesn't, because he says in Phantom Menace, or like one of the Jedi say in Phantom Menace, they haven't been around for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Well,
plus Coyote Mundi, he's an idiot.
Oh, that's true.
He's got a big brain, but he's a dummy.
Yeah.
It's mostly Peanut. Yeah. Actually, people don't know that.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, they say they've been extinct for millennia. I think, it seems like with this show, the way they're doing it is like, but Jedi don't want people to know about this. So Yoda might know about it and is like, we don't talk about that. Like, that was bad. We're going to push that down and talk to our therapist about it, but no one else, So I could see that being the way that it happens, but I don't know.
I have a question about the George Lucas talk show, because we've been kind of circling on it a little bit, and that's kind of our whole platform here, is taking the hate out of the debate and trying to kind of, erase those boys on the internet, right?
Yeah.
Have you all had to deal with any of that push? Okay, that's good to hear. That hasn't crept into the
No, well, we're at the point where we are not big enough to be influenced by those people, or to be infiltrated by those people.
Yeah.
And I don't think. Also, here's the truth of the matter: is we're 3 white dudes.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
So it is something where I'm not a Hispanic girl saying "shut up, dumb boys" on the internet, know?
Yeah.
And that's obviously a huge point of privilege and a place that, we're all aware of. And it's something that when we're trying to book the show, we always try to get diverse voices on there because we know who we are and we know that we're just presenting ourselves as, another bunch of white boys talking about Star Wars. So it's we're very lucky in that we've never had to deal with it. had to deal with dumb Star Wars boys. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, if you pull your mask off right now, Scooby-Doo style, and underneath is a Latina female,
it would be so impressive.
I'd be like, why do we not record this for everyone to see?
I know. And that would be the only time I did it. No one else would ever see it.
No one else would ever see it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The other thing is, with the talk show, you're kind of Star Wars adjacent. You're not in the arena of like defending why The Last Jedi is good.
Totally.
You're just kind of like having fun.
Yeah.
Or the good thing about the talk show, when it is a live stream talk show, is that our shortest live stream we call the Irishman Plus because it is at least 1 minute longer than Martin Scorsese's The Irishman. So if these boys want to come find us talking about this stuff, they have to wade through 2.5 hours of us talking to Seth Meyers about what it's like working on SNL. You know?
Yeah.
There have been a few times where clips have gone around. We had Tatiana Maslany on a couple months ago, who's the lead in She-Hulk and Orphan Black and, a whole bunch of stuff.
Yes.
And she auditioned for a bunch of Star Wars stuff, Like she was, I think, second for Jin. It was like between Felicity Jones and Tatiana. And she auditioned for something else too. I don't remember if it was Rey, but it was something in that era. Oh, it might have been Kira. I think it was Kira.
Mm-hmm.
That might have been the other one.
That sounds about, as far as type goes.
Totally, yeah. And she talked about it on the show, and I was on my TikTok For You page, and all of a sudden I saw a clip of her talking about it, and I was like, I like jumped back, because I was like, whoa, like no one clips us that often. But yeah, like she's gotten us clips. And we have Rachel Zegler on the show a bunch from West Side Story and Hunger Games and everything. She came on the show before West Side Story came out because I saw her tweeting about the prequels, and I knew that it would be a real coup to get this girl who's going to be the next big thing in Hollywood to come on the show, Yeah. And she's since been on, I think, 8 times. Like, it's crazy. Wow. Like, still to this day, she's coming on. And that's another one where people will clip out stuff that she says selectively and get that, which, what are you going to do? But yeah, I think we're lucky in that the show is long and we don't put out clips that often. So people don't get to see those kind of things because we want people to watch the show. But at the same time, like, I'm not clout chasing for clicks on YouTube. I'm like, if you want to watch it, you can watch it. It's 6 hours long. I hope you enjoy it, but like, I'm not going to do the work for you. You have to do the work.
You have to do the work.
Yeah. It really hasn't touched the show except for us talking about how dumb we think they all are.
Great.
That's it. I feel like I am the most in that community, not in that community, but like aware of that community.
Yeah.
So I'm able to call them out by name, which I love. I love doing that. I love being like, this guy's dumb, this guy's dumb, this guy's dumb. But they're not as tied into it, so they don't know that stuff as much.
That's so funny.
I find myself very affected by the dumb boys and the constant debate and
Twitter's
the
tough
back
sometimes.
and forth.
It's exhausting.
Twitter's tough sometimes.
Yeah.
How like knowing them by name is a like knowledge that I don't think I personally could handle. How do you do it? Like, how do you maintain your positive? Because you have a very positive Star Wars aura about you.
I don't watch the videos. But I will see clips on TikTok or whatever, YouTube or not YouTube, like Twitter or whatever. So I know who they are. And I know by the thumbnails, this guy sucks. If you hear someone quoting frickin' Mike Zero, like, they're an idiot, things like that. I'll call them out. I don't care. Yeah. If you see someone talking about like, oh, I love the critical drinker, you're like, okay, I discount every single one of your opinions that you're about to say. Like, or even honestly, if people are like, oh, I watched this Star Wars YouTube video, it's very rare. They have to hit on one of like 10 channels where you're like, okay, you're fine. But the majority of them, like if you're getting your Star Wars news from guys who make 20-minute videos on YouTube, like more than likely, it's not someone I give a shit about.
Yeah.
And the thing that I do to keep positive is I use the block button liberally.
Yeah.
And it's the best way, and I love doing it. It feels great. Sometimes if I can't sleep at night, I will just search certain phrases and just go down the list and block every single person who has used the phrase. And it's joyful. It's great. That's what I do.
Yeah, I love it. We should all be curating the internet for a more positive environment.
If you look at how many people I blocked, it's like 50,000 people. Like, it is it's an insane amount of people because I'm like, you're dumb and I don't need to hear your opinion. I don't care.
Yeah.
It'll make my life worse. So
there you go.
I'm outing myself as a psychopath in this episode.
No, you're not. No, you're not. We can cut all this if you want to.
I don't want it. I want you to keep it.
I do want to ask, though, it's a kind of personal question. Can you please unblock me?
Yeah. Did I?
No. That would have been funny, though.
I think I have checked for the people whose podcasts I'm doing, and I don't think I have blocked anyone. I was like very
tweet enough for that to have happened.
Exactly. Yeah. But look, sometimes people do get caught up in that, whether if they tweet something ironically or tweet something like people who say Kathleen Kennedy sucks is stupid, and I'm searching Kathleen Kennedy sucks, like I might just do it by accident. So it does happen occasionally.
Okay, well, on the positive, what are the top 3 elements that make Star Wars to you?
Fires in space.
Great call out.
Sorry.
For everyone listening, Dave just had to duck out of camera because he was laughing so hard.
Screws? I think screws was another thing that people got really mad about. And, people of color. Those are the big 3 things. No. The big 3 things that make Star Wars for me. Music, masks, and what's a third thing? Things that I can't even explain this. Was it a congressional hearing in the 50s when people said, "Can you define pornography?" And they say, "I can't define it, but I know it when I see it." When a guy shows up on screen and I stick my thumbs up inadvertently without even knowing that I'm doing it and just go, that is Star Wars for me. When I see a guy and I'm like, that guy rules. Like, that is Star Wars for me. And very much, the guy who I described earlier on the prison ship, like, that was a guy where I was like, yep, there he is.
There he is.
Yeah.
Well,
that's awesome.
The thing about the Acolyte that I said was like, I just had a Star Wars smile throughout the whole thing because
same.
It was just it just felt weird yet familiar, and I loved it.
I had one complaint, and it was costuming related, so it's good. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll take that.
What is your favorite Star Wars memory?
Celebration Anaheim was really big. I really loved going to Celebration Anaheim and being there. You got to go to the Obi-Wan premiere there, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But also at the opening ceremony, they had the chorus doing, I think it was Duel of the Fates or Battle of the Heroes, one of those two, And then Ewan and Hayden walked out, and it was truly I was like, oh yeah, this rules. But that was also the same day where, like, 20 minutes later, they open the curtains and John Williams has got the whole orchestra, and then Harrison walks out. It was a very overwhelming day, and it was a very overwhelming weekend in general. But just that, it really truly felt like, oh, look, it's all my friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, oh man, that jealousy is painful.
I know.
No, that's so cool. That's really fun to hear.
Yeah, it was very fun.
And our final question for you.
Yeah.
We've talked about your journey, about your aunt who kind of introduced you to Star Wars, your love of monsters and masks, the great amount of community you've not only developed but discovered with the George Lucas talk show. After talking about all of this within the last hour, can you tell us what does Star Wars mean to you?
I mean, it's such a big question. It's been the thing I've been dreading this entire time.
The title gives it away. Yeah.
No, I know, which is why it makes it scary. I mean, it has changed my life a lot, especially these last 4 years, since the live stream thing started. And I've made so many friends from it. I've made so many insane memories from it. Like, I was booking the show at UCB in New York, and like Mark Hamill did it. And like getting Mark Hamill to come to a dirty grocery store basement is like insane, to do a comedy show. And then he has a good time. And like, I have a Force Awakens poster over there, and he wrote, "Thanks for the memories." It's just like, it's very wild. I tweeted after the show, I was like, he's the best. He's, exactly what you want him to be. And he tweeted back like, you're not so bad yourself, like that kind of thing. And I'm just like, what are we doing here, you know? And, you know, like just getting to Anthony Daniels. I booked Anthony Daniels for something, and like getting to hang out with all these people who are so insane, and like getting to be friends with some of them is crazy. You know, we did that Phantom Menace live reading, and like Diana Leonosanto was in it, who's the best, and like she played Palpatine, which is crazy. You know, like just like being able to work with these people and giving them fun nights that I assume they will remember, you know, like that I hope they will remember. That is the goal. And so many bookers and people in this world work on projects that are frankly boring and like run of the mill. And, you know, I'm not saying that this show in particular is boring, but like you're going to do Regis and Kelly for the 7th time. It's like, you know what that interview is going to be, you know? But you go do the George Lucas talk show and like you don't know what that interview is going to be, even if you've been on 3 times. Like you don't know what's going to happen. And that's really fun for me that like almost anyone that I've run into who has done the show and I go, oh, you did this. And they go, oh my God, yes, that was crazy. You know, like it's a very fun feeling, and that would not have happened without Star Wars. So, you know, it's a very weird life that franchise has given me, and I'm very happy that I'm the tiniest part of it, you know?
Right on.
Yeah.
So are we.
That's
of course.
I'm glad you're part of it.
Sure.
No, that's what I meant, because
I meant I'm glad that you guys are part of it. You guys are doing doing good work too. So it's like, you know, everyone gets to be a small part of it, and that's exciting, you know?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it's cool that we all get to kind of share in this together. Yeah.
But if they put me in the background of Mandalorian and Grogu in a mask, I'll be even happier. Like that's all you know what I mean? It's like, let me be a fifth. That's all I want.
Just let me be on set. I'll run your crafty. It's just something like totally, like I'll get your dry cleaning. Yeah.
And then I get to go to conventions for the rest of my life. You know?
Yeah.
That's all we need.
That's true. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick, where can people find you?
Yeah. Let me start with the doc promo. You can go to I'mGeorgeLucas.com and you can see anywhere that you can rent it. It's available starting June 11th, which I assume will be before this comes out. It'll also be available in more places soon. I can't say where yet, but you'll be able to see them more places soon. And I'm hoping by the end of the year for a physical release. I'm really pushing for that Blu-ray. We got a lot of
special edition.
Hey, the edition, here's what I'll say. The edition that you saw is the special edition, because the film that premiered at Slamdance in Park City in January had something. There was a shot where Connor was talking about a street in Missouri. He said, "This is Missouri Boulevard. It feels important." Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. The shot that they put in was not Missouri Boulevard, and Connor made them change it because he's like, "I'm gonna look stupid. Like if someone from Missouri sees this." So technically, the version that you have seen it is the special edition. So you can get that on I'mGeorgeLucas.com, and it has all the info for the doc. You can watch that the Naboo movie, which is the live stage reading of The Phantom Menace that I did. An insane cast. Haley Joel Osment plays Anakin. Bobby Moynihan plays Darth Maul. You know, Lorraine Newman, original SNL cast member, plays Shmi Skywalker. Tony Hale's Qui-Gon. Like, it's a crazy cast. That's at NabooMovie.com, or you can go to the George Lucas Talk Show YouTube page, and it's on there. I'm on Twitter, X, at Patrick Cotnoir. I'm on Instagram, at Cotnoir. You can go to my website, patrickcotnoir.com. I don't know. I'm trying to think of everything.
It'll all be the show notes, too.
You'll find it everywhere.
Like, grabbing their pen quickly in the car.
If you're in Los Angeles, we're going to be doing more of those live readings soon. And every Sunday night at the UCB Theater, I book monologists, the special guests for the show ASSSSCAT, and you can come watch that. It's really fun. You get a lot of cool, famous people there.
Right on.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
And as Laura said, these will all be in the show notes, so people can just click on the links there and go right to it.
We love it.
Patrick, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you guys for having me. It was
so
very fun. It was very, very fun. I appreciate you having us on.
Yeah. No, thank you for taking the time and introducing us to this amazing world of the George Lucas Talk Show.
Yes.
I feel like a total noob almost for having not yet stumbled upon it. So
totally fine. The way that I recommend it to people is, if you want to watch an episode, go find a guest that you like and then go in from there. Thank you guys, though. Very fun. Very fun.
May the Force be with you.
And also with you.
Hi, this is Dave, and before we get to the show, I wanted to ask you a favor. One of our goals this year is to grow the show so that What Does Star Wars Mean to You reaches more listeners. And that's where we're asking you for help. And it's really easy. Wherever you listen to us, please hit that subscribe button. If you're liking the show, give us a 5-star rating and review on the platform you listen to us. We make a lot of fun of the algorithm and the smash that button thing, but it really does help us get noticed by new fans. And if you want to join in on the conversation, find us on social at Star Wars Mean to You. That's Star Wars Mean, the number 2 in the letter U. Now, let's chat some Star Wars.